Good afternoon. It's good to talk to you, but because of the press of my business on behalf of my clients, I'm going to have to do a sit and talk, even though it's a pretty nice day outside. I have several thoughts from, like helicoptering over the situation of chaos that we now face. And I have some proposals for how we can look at this chaos and what its objective is, and how we can order ourselves to deal with it. I sort of think of it as a form of disease, that Trump has measles, only worse, and that he's spotted from foot to head. And his associates are in the same fashion. And people don't see the disease, and so others that we would normally think would just reject who he is and what he stands for out of hand do not. The Republican Party has been afflicted by this disease, this dis-ease. They've had a robust history at different times. It's been reflected in policies they've taken that we generally agreed in. Of course, we always talk about Nixon. He thought of the EPA, the Administrative Procedure Act, FOIA, and things like that. And so there was a series of proposals that probably make him critical for other reasons than those that drove him from office. But now we have reflected in the malformed head of the Republican Party, Trump. The party is the instrument of this madman, ambitious for power at all costs. Nothing deters him. He just keeps pressing and pressing in the resolve, and no one stands up and says, stop that, and puts a hands to his chest to stop him from doing what he's doing. And so he and they embrace incompetent, reactionary, and dangerous policies. They are comfortable with discriminating, propagating hate and division and hurt. They make these gambles in dangerous times, not only for us at home, but for what we see offshore, when nation states turn toward the right, when we don't know exactly what is the compact between North Korea and China and Russia, but we know there is one, that they formed a secret combine, and they're playing it out, and it's not just words, it's actions. The book that we should be concerned about these days, if we're not careful, may be titled as was one that JFK wrote many years ago after World War II. He wrote, "While England Slept." We do not want to write while America slept, although we've been snoozing, and we've had an attorney general who could have derailed this contagion, this measles attack, this cancer on our nation, like John Dean might call it if he were asked how he would categorize it today. What do the R's want that they can identify as tied to any past administration or approach that they had? And I think the answer is they may be defined as a capitalist party, as is the want of most Republicans today. That's too narrow a frame of reference for America and its promise in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution. We specifically provide that our government's function, among others, is the general welfare. That's a lot more than just the rich. In fact, if there's a compact in America, it is that the rich get some benefit and protection for what they contribute, that the middle class works and earns what it can, and we make transfer payments to the poorest and those exposed and fragile and maybe disabled, and any number of other items that generate a need and a feeling that we must be helpful, and that government is more than a balance sheet, and it has to be. How do you weigh environmental pollution against a balance sheet? How do you weigh a family that's hungry and homeless? How do you weigh the education of our young, which is the future of America and the pathway always to equality in America? How do you do these things if you only have one standard? If it depends on an oligarchy that's only concerned about the profit that comes out of what they do? Now, all of this has created a political vacuum. The opposition, that's you and I, represented by people who aren't doing their jobs, that's a problem. That's a serious problem. While America slept, that's the concern. And we have to do something about that. It will soon be filled, I believe, but hopefully sooner rather than later. We see the the stepping forward, if you will, in California and in Pennsylvania. I think we'll see other states. There are 17 to 20 states that I think can take steps in those directions. But it's not enough that they quietly believe certain things. They're going to have to pass laws. They're going to have to go to court. They're going to have hearings. They're going to have to educate and push back. Our armed services is going to have to be faithful to the people and not to some errant dictator, self-declared, who on the day he's sworn in is going to be a dictator for a day. We cannot have that circumstance, but that's what we do. And so we have to look to those among us who have the ability. And we individuals have to realize what the game is being played and not allow ourselves to be lulled into a false sense of comfort. That's what's going on is business as usual, and it is not something to be concerned about. It very much is. I've talked before about the failures of inductive reasoning, about the notion that if you never saw a black swan, then they must all be white. And the fact that there are black swans. If you go to Australia and New Zealand, you may see them. But if your entire life experience is one thing, you think it must be universal and true. Our entire life experience does not require us to lay low, to withdraw, to stand down, to allow ourselves to be lulled into a false sense of confidence that all will be well because there's some sort of magical thing about the good positions we've taken that have had us work hard to fulfill them over the years and decades, that it was necessary to make people more equal, to give more opportunity. And the biggest lie of all is that no man is above the law, when plainly the head of this snake is so far above it that we can't see the clouds. We can only see the stars above them. That's how high and how out of sight is the recognition of people who are in the political or business class. And that's what we have to watch for. We have to assure this nation peace and security at home and abroad. We're not doing that right now. It is kind of a whirlpool of chaos, and we have to organize that. We have to organize it so it fulfills the promise of our Declaration of Independence and the terms of our Constitution and the needs of an America that is still a beacon for people to come here. And the notion, even by itself, that we want to keep people out is to deny our heritage, our origins, and what has made us a beacon for people elsewhere in the world who want to come here. Europe is going to have to fashion a remedy on its own to deal with the strife on the continent if Trump is allowed to go forward and to do nothing as he promises, and even to side with those from Russia and other so-called strong men who are not strong at all but are evil. So that's what I have to say this afternoon. I look forward to doing a regular walk and talk tomorrow when I'm not catching up with the status of my cases with my clients. So thank you for joining. I'll look forward to seeing your comments, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.